Chapter 37, But you have no idea that I like you. Lin Nuan and Wen Moshen had almost identical features, but they were much more delicate than each other.
When Moshi and Wen Moshen had almost identical features, they both had comforting smiles. However, Wen Moshi's features were more defined and delicate than Moshen's. Lin Nuan had also once had a crush on someone. She knew what that burning look meant. A Harpo song, Only You, started playing in the music store on the side of the road, and the beat made Wen Moshi's heart race. He felt a little nervous and put a hand in his pocket, revealing his discomfort. Lin Nuan felt her face tighten up. She pretended to look at her watch and said, "My colleague is still waiting for me to bring her the donuts and milk tea. We should talk about it another day." Wen Moshi's hands curled up in his pockets. He grabbed Lin Nuan, who brushed against his shoulder, and said, "This won't take long." Lin Nuan wanted to withdraw his wrist, but he only tightened his grip. Staring at her long hair, he took a deep breath and said with great determination, "Lin Nuan. I'm 26 years old and I've never had a relationship before. The reason I didn't go on those dates my mother set up wasn't because I wanted to focus on my career and be as good as my brother. That was just the excuse I gave my mother. It was because I already had someone I liked, but I didn't have the courage to say it out loud. I was afraid it would make things awkward and ruin a good friendship. It's been 8 years, Lin Nuan. I know you love my brother, but you don't know that I've loved you all this time." Lin Nuan clutched the plastic bag in his hands. So people already knew his feelings towards Wen Moshen. The red light came on at the intersection. Lu Jinan parked his car and looked at Tuan Tuan in the rearview mirror. He was sleeping soundly on Fu Huai'an's leg, covered with his suit like a blanket. His little white face glowed a warm red like the hue of an apple. Lu Jinan smiled and involuntarily laid eyes on Lin Nuan and Wen Moshi outside, who were standing at the entrance of the donut store near the road. He rolled down the car window to take a good look. It was her, Lin Nuan. Of course, he clearly saw that Wen Moshen was holding Lin Nuan's hand. He said with a smile, "No wonder she suddenly changed her mind in the administrative unit. She likes young boys." Fu Huai'an looked up and glanced at the roadside through the car window. "You just want to have a one-night stand with someone. Why go through so much effort just to get a marriage certificate? This type of woman looks straight and dignified, but there are more than enough ways to win her over. You don't need to make so much effort. The simplest and roughest solution, if you agree, I can take care of it for you in a week." "Stay out of this," Fu Huai'an said coldly. He looked away and gently patted Tuan Tuan on his legs with one arm. He used his right hand to light the cigarette in his mouth. His long slender fingers lowered the car window as he exhaled the smoke and threw the cigarette out. He kept his unfathomable gaze fixed on Lin Nuan through the smoke. School ended early on Friday. A group of middle schoolers were chasing each other on bikes on the pedestrian lane. The pedestrians were avoiding them by looking at them sideways. The leader of their pack turned to look at his friends who were chasing him from behind when his bike brushed against Lin Nuan's back. "Look out!" When Moshi pulled Lin Nuan closer. The students had already gone too far before he could confront them. Lin Nuan frowned. Without warning, she met the gaze of that familiar pair of dark pupils hidden behind the smoke. Her heart suddenly hung in the air, and she felt sheepish and shy as if she had been caught cheating. It was Fu Huai'an.
Chapter 38, Lin Nuan is not content with a relationship. Lin Nuan and Wen Moshi were in an awkward situation at the same time.
Lin Nuan immediately removed her hand from Fu Huai'an's grip. She stood stiffly, keeping a distance between them. Holding the plastic bag, she hid her strands of hair behind her ear to hide her discomfort. She was grateful to Fu Huai'an for letting her go to the administration building that morning, but she didn't dare expect him to leave it at that. So she didn't want to give Fu Huai'an the impression that she was a promiscuous woman, ready to cheat on him any chance she got. The green light went on. Lu Jinan released the brakes and asked, "Do you really like this girl?" Lu Jinan knew that his question was redundant. If Fu Huai'an wasn't, why would he choose to get his marriage certificate with her? Fu Huai'an did not answer. Lu Jinan knowingly closed his mouth and kept silent. At the door of the highway donut store, Lin Nuan watched the car carrying Fu Huai'an take off, his eyebrows furrowed. Wen Moshen felt his throat go dry as Lin Nuan remained silent. "My brother's home, so I was afraid that if I didn't tell you this, I might never get the chance again," Wen Moshen said as he swallowed under his collar, his ears red as a strawberry. "I won't force you to give me an answer now. Think about it." All Lin Nuan had to do was leave to get out of this embarrassing situation. But since she had no intention of giving Moshi any chance, she didn't want to act indecisive and confused, which would only fool him into thinking there was still hope. It would keep him hanging in the air. Since the elephant in the room was already addressed, she didn't care to make things more awkward than they already were. "Moshi, we are not in the same league. You are the second heir of the Wen family, but I am no longer the pampered daughter of the Lins. My father is a well-known fraud in Ocean City and my mother is mentally ill." When Moshi wanted to say something but Lin Nuan cut him off. "If you don't mind, your parents will. I don't have the energy or courage to fight for us, and at the end of the day, I won't love you romantically, ever." When Moshi's lips pressed together. "What sense does it make for us to be together when I clearly have feelings for your brother? You may not mind me treating you like a substitute, but I do. I spent my entire childhood playing and growing up with you, so I know you're good enough for a good girl to fall in love with." No sugar-coated words could cover the fact that Lin Nuan had rejected him. Although he had mentally prepared for it, Wen Moshen still felt a pang in his heart. Lin Nuan accurately conveyed 3 messages to Wen Moshen. First, she didn't like him. Second, she wouldn't settle for a relationship. And third, he was her good friend and nothing more. "Lin Nuan, you're really talking too bluntly," Wen Moshen said to ease the embarrassment, moving his lips. "Because it's you, I don't want to be on the fence rejecting you just because I feel bad. Since I know your personality, if I tell you the truth as it is, we can remain friends. But if I reject you after giving you hope for too long, we might not be able to keep this friendship anymore." Wen Moshen knew that his first sentence was the truth. The second, however, was simply Lin Nuan letting him down more easily. When she said it like that, even Wen Moshen felt bad that they were drifting apart because of her refusal. Wen Moshen knew that Lin Nuan was still smart. Wen Moshen let out a long sigh. He smiled to hide the anguish in his heart and said, "Let me send you away." "That's not necessary. This is a turning point. I will leave first." Wen Moshen stood there bewildered and watched Lin Nuan's slender figure walk away.
Chapter 39, Those who know nothing are afraid of nothing. Li Zhiguo and Lin Nuan aren't the same.
If he didn't say anything, he still had a shred of hope, but after being rejected for expressing his feelings, he had given up hope. No matter what he did, he would not be as good as Wen Moshen, as worthy of Lin Nuan's love. As soon as Lin Nuan stepped out of the elevator, she saw a crowd clumped around the door of the station manager's office. There was apparently a scene in progress inside. Bai Xiaoyan spotted Lin Nuan in the crowd and rushed towards her in her high heels. She grabbed Lin Nuan's arm and lowered her voice. "That old pervert Li was doing you-know-what with Wu Qianying in the office and they got caught by his wife. My God." Wu Qianying's face was so beaten up. Li wanted to close the door, but his wife keeps it wide open and yells loudly for people to come and take a look at these shameful people. Bai Xiaoyan was not content to laugh at his misery. It's just that even someone slightly attractive working at the radio station these days would be hit on by Li Zhiguo. Originally, Bai Xiaoyan had a great opportunity to host the noon show on Ocean City, but Li Zhiguo approached her and said that if she was willing to sleep with him, she could even get the late-night host job. Bai Xiaoyan rejected his offer. Li Zhiguo shamelessly kept her in the radio station. Li Zhiguo also thought of hitting on Lin Nuan, but the girl was smart and had the courage to stand up for herself while the other girls just cried and kept things to themselves when they were harassed. Lin Nuan was only hit once, and she walked right into the manager's office one morning and gave a speech during the afternoon meeting about sexual harassment at work to raise awareness among her colleagues. She did not specifically mention Li Zhiguo's name, but it was enough to intimidate him into giving up the idea of harassing her. However, it also didn't give her more opportunities for career advancement. I heard that our staff was looking for a morning host. Guess what? Li recommended Wu Qianying, Bai Xiaoyan said as he grabbed Lin Nuan to watch the commotion at the door. Lin Nuan didn't like this kind of scene. She had taken a brief look around the office when she was pushed into the middle of the crowd. The usual Wu Qianying, well-dressed and radiant, had nothing left on her. Li Zhiguo's wife, who was twice her weight, was sitting on top of her and cursing her. She aimed directly at Wu Qianying's face and slapped it until it became swollen. Wu Qianying had blood all over his nose and mouth. Li Zhiguo was wearing only a pair of underwear. He was wearing a set of handcuffs and was sitting on the sofa, as shy as a mouse, not daring to say a word. The office was flooded with the desperate pleas of Wu Qianying and the piercing vulgarities of Li Zhiguo's wife. Lin Nuan winced as she saw the disgusting scene before her. Lin Nuan makes her way out of the crowd, some of whom were filming the scene. Bai Xiaoyan also came out of the crowd and saw that Lin Nuan was dialing the security number on her phone. Bai Xiaoyan snatched his phone from him and said in a low voice, "Can't you see that no one in our entire department is calling security? This Li is too despised, that's why everyone just wants to watch the scene. There are sounds of screaming all over the floor, it just gives me a headache," Lin Nuan said in an agitated voice. She took her phone back and passed the donuts and milk tea to Bai Xiaoyan. "Stay and watch the commotion. I'm going to the recording room."